All right, morning once again, everybody. We're peeling ourselves off a mat on this fine post-regular season Monday here on the Defo Show, and always a pleasure. The Pigskin Playbook about to get underway here. Brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. That's mile marker 104, Overseas Highway in Key Largo. Dynamite place. You see the pictures, and it's one of those places, John Congemi, that actually looks better than the brochure, which looks so enticing.
Yeah,
Unlike the
you're right.
Sunset Inn, which I've stayed at many times in Key Largo, which looks nothing like the brochure once you get there.
Did you say you had sunset?
When they give you two keys and a fly swatter as you go to your room, I mean, it's never a good sign. That's not the case
Yeah.
at the Big Chill. I mean, you can get shafted, on keys accommodations and or dining, but this is never the case at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. How are you? I posted something up on Facebook. I couldn't help but think as the game was transpiring and they were going to halftime, a late field goal to knot it up at 3 apiece. And I'm thinking, this is not exactly the thriller in Manila that I'm watching here. And I put up a picture of one of those clever inside right hands that Muhammad Ali had, landed throughout his career to the jaw of Joe Frazier, only to go through treachery later on. I'm assuming you were at this game, and if you were, how are you still alive today? I mean, that was torture. I mean, it really was.
Even Defo and Lubie, even the taste of Hard Rock black coffee couldn't get me through the first half.
Wow.
Of this one.
Joe Flacco versus Skylar Thompson and a bad offensive line.
The only thing that I was thinking of was eight games, and it's. I was waiting.
What do you think we were thinking about?
Talk to you guys, because honest to God, I mean, you felt like the Dolphins were going to find a way, but it didn't look. I didn't have any confidence in them finding a way.
I felt they were going to win the game the whole time. I really did. I thought they would eventually get a touchdown somehow, either a Flacco pick six, some kind of fumble, or maybe they. I don't think Thompson is that bad, but wow, he looked like Ray Lucas a couple of times. Where the guy was almost on the ground and he tries to throw one. I'm sure you've attempted a couple of those, much to the dismay of your coaching staff.
I took a few years off of some of those coaches' lives, trying to attempt some of those, and I'm
You're
sure
prone to the ground.
Skylar did the same the other day on us, and a lot of Dolphin fans. We were like, just don't turn it over, because the Jets aren't going to score a touchdown. They couldn't run.
They
the
have
football.
No offense, zero. I mean, except that Wilson kid, who was great.
Wilson, outstanding. What did he have? 9 for 102.
Oh, and he was being triple teamed too. I mean, and catching balls in the dirt from Flacco.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like he was trying to catch Gaylord Perry, for God's sake. What was on that one, Gaylord?
He did look like. I'll give you one. He looked like Manny Sanguillen back there, right, with one leg out. So
saving a beauty by Sanguillen, exactly.
It wasn't an offensive performance that you're going to want to watch again, if you're one of the players. But the Dolphins found a way to win. And the good thing is, going into a game like they're going to face in Buffalo, giving some confidence to Jason Sanders, because he's going to have to be money again if the Dolphins are going to have to hang around the first half and cash in on getting some points, right? Even though they may not score a touchdown, you rely on Jason Sanders. You stay in the game. You're within arm's distance of the Buffalo Bills. So that was a good thing, other than finding a way to win. New England found a way to lose. Buffalo had 2 kick returns for touchdowns. So everybody was happy in the end.
Patriots. Yeah. I thought the Patriots, I guess Mac Jones threw 3 picks, which, probably gives a little distinction to Lubie's point that he sucks, but I don't know that I want to concede that, because they were in that game, and what I thought was in a pivotal spot, with the recovery of DeMar Hamlin and the way the country is rallied around this guy, and everybody's got sympathy for people in Buffalo anyway, because they have to live there. So which in and of itself, I mean, is catastrophic. But I mean, you had to think the Patriots were in a really, really rough spot there to try and come up with a win. And they didn't help themselves any, that's for sure.
No, they gave the football away, and they gave up touchdowns on special teams. There's no easier way to lose a road game.
Yeah, 2 kickoff returns. Game. Wow.
Right. So that, I mean, you everything's, you always say it's, offense, defense, and special teams. A lot of people don't put credence in that, right? Because it's like, well, special teams are going to play, 8 times a game, 9 times a game.
Very diminished, as Mike Westhoff would tell you. Yeah.
When they do connect, it's a body blow.
Wow.
It's a gut punch.
Yeah,
and it takes the steam out of you, as a team.
You've probably seen it a few times when you were quarterback, and and you see the kicker making that last desperate lunge while you're on the sidelines, having just worked your team into a position to win the game, and you watch this guy go floating by, and here's some Jan Stenerud wannabe, and he whiffs on the tackle.
Yeah,
and the guy's going the rest of the way.
There were times where you could see eyes of insanity on the sidelines where offense and defensive linemen want to go choke a kicker or want to, just
no, for sure.
Are you kidding me? But the worst sound in the world for a quarterback is, you miss on third down, you're walking to the sidelines, and all of a sudden you hear a thud because the punt's blocked and it's going the other way, and it's awful. So special teams, as limited as you have chances, can turn games and really get the emotion and really get the momentum of a team flipped on one play. And the Bills were able to do that to start the game. And then, they got another one as the game went on.
All right, Lubie's got something for you, but just real quickly, I'm with you. I believe you win as many games as you can, unless you're Lovie Smith. In which case, I'm not sure that he was going to survive, getting to another season anyway. But, I mean, it had to be expedited when he goes for 2 and wins the game and costs him the number 1 overall pick.
Could you have seen the bounce house in the owner's box? Right? People just bouncing off the walls.
They have the number 1 pick wrapped up. All this guy has to do is take a knee.
Oh, yeah.
And goes and wins the game, and they're fucked. Which and that was I don't even know that he made it out of the locker room before he got dismissed. My former neighbor, a guy who coached in the USFL and also coached at Missouri as a defensive coordinator, Woody Woodenhofer was his guy. A guy named Jim McKinley. And McKinley was in the USFL with the Oklahoma Outlaws, and their kicker in a playoff game missed a kick before the half, and they literally had moved his stuff out of the locker room before he even got back in there, man. And the USFL was kind of a renegade league. Did you ever take a sniff at the USFL? Was that around when you were a pro?
I didn't. No, I didn't.
Could have played for Donnie Trump or something there with the Generals.
Exactly.
That would have been good, but I mean, I could see that where and in college football this year, it's never been more in evidence that there aren't enough good college kickers to go around, including that guy, Ruggles, who was pretty good for Ohio State. But was that one of the worst shanks you have ever seen in that semifinal game?
Yeah, that was
bad. He came on the field about 46 yards, very makeable for a kid today, and he had already made longer distance kicks. And wow, I mean, just shanked it off to the left, and that cost you a chance at the championship. All right, Lubie, what do you have for John Congemi?
Well, I was just going to see, because we haven't heard anything about Tua, and I know it's not like they're feeding you information, but you're around the organization, so maybe you would have heard more. What is the word on Tua? Because McDaniel was very loquacious until the Tua question,
vague,
and he didn't say anything. And I get it; his health is what matters, and it's day to day. But it's been 2 weeks. And the target was the playoffs, and they're now in the playoffs against a team that they played really well against with Tua. What is your sense? Is there a chance that Tua could play this weekend?
Yeah, I think he's going to play.
Oh, yeah. All right, great.
I wouldn't see why he wouldn't. I mean, all you have to do is pass protocol, and then it's up to the player, right? I don't know why. I don't know what's so convoluted about it, because if the player says, I don't feel right, then he doesn't feel right, and he doesn't play. If he passes all the protocol, benchmarks to get to a point where they say, okay, you're out of protocol, I'm going to go practice. I'm going to go see how I feel. So I'm going to go outside. I'm going to go practice. I'm going to kind of get into the routine of a regular day. I'm going to go to film study. I'm going to answer questions. I'm going to go through the meetings. I'm going to go to lunch. I'm going to do all the things that I need to do. And then I'm going to go out and participate in practice like I would normally. If I feel okay after that, I'm going to turn to the coaches and give them thumbs up and say, hey, I'm good. I feel great. I want to continue. Now, I think it goes solely to the player at that point. So if the player wants to play, I think he's going to have that opportunity to play. If the player doesn't feel right, then he's not. But if you can pass all the benchmarks that you can to get through the protocol, and like you said, Lubie, it's not like it happened last week.
Yeah.
It is now
It's 3 weeks ago,
almost
right?
10 days,
Yeah.
2 games.
2 weeks into it. And I think once you get through protocol, it's on the player now, whether he plays or not.
I'm thinking, their chances against Buffalo, the way things are going right now, trending. They did match up well against them. Obviously, they beat them one time coming from behind, and they were toe to toe with them in a shootout in a very meaningful game. That was about as exciting a football game as you can ask for, losing on a last-second field goal. So it isn't impossible to conceive that they could be competitive in this game, but I believe there's no chance that they win this game without Tagovailoa. And then on top of that, I mean, this was something you could see. Now, he was under stress, and he's not accustomed to doing the things. I mean, there's a reason Tua is ahead of him on the depth chart, and this guy was a 7th-round pick, Skylar Thompson. But those intermediate throws into the middle of the zones, it was never more clearly illustrated how good Tua is at executing those plays versus a guy that maybe has to take a step to his right because he just won't hang in that same spot for a split second longer. And Tua gets rid of the ball so much more quickly than either Bridgewater or Skylar Thompson. So, and those throws were clearly missing. In the Jets game, I mean, guys, you're looking at Tyreek Hill. There might have been 4 Jets forming an umbrella around him, but those are the throws that Tua hits, and that's why they've had such a good season when he's been in there.
Well, you think about it, how many reps Tua's had at the footwork and the timing and throwing blindly because he knows where guys are going to be, and he's anticipating those throws, where Skylar had probably 3 days of work at it in terms of getting all the reps and doing all those things. So you would think Tua is going to be that far ahead, and the receiver is going to be that much comfortable running in those zones and being able to know where to settle down. Skylar probably has the strongest arm of all 3 quarterbacks on the team, but in terms of being able to have that timing to match up where the receivers are in those zones, it takes a while. It takes some time, and that's probably why you saw and fans saw what they did on Sunday. It was just hit or miss. It looked a little bit like helter skelter in terms of scrambling, making plays, extending plays. Trying to be productive, but you're trying so hard, the wheels are spinning and you're not getting anywhere. So I think Skylar has all the tools to be an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, he's promising, no question.
He has mobility, he has a strong arm, he's got the size. He just needs time. He just needs to mature and nurture that and harness, all of his strengths, and that takes reps. So he doesn't have them yet.
Is that a nice way of saying you agree with me? They have no shot without Tua.
You know what? You think about it.
You give him a chance, yeah. All right.
I would give him a chance because the Dolphins as a team, have played. What 1 point separates these two teams in 2 matchups? I think that's if you're looking at.
But Tua had big games in both of those games. He was huge, and so was Hill and Waddle. I mean, were Hill and Waddle. And that's what they need. I mean, they're not going to win this game with a couple of field goals. I would think that Buffalo is going to put up 30 points in the ball game, and the over players might be tempted to take a shot, but whatever the total is. The under players, wow! I mean, were they? Kasatsky, man, I saw dancing in the streets on Biscayne Boulevard, John Congemi, yesterday. As the under players, usually a bunch of lowlife, pessimistic, sarcastic, guys that hate to have fun. They're betting the under. All right. And they're dancing, man. They were dancing to bar mitzvah music yesterday. As 3-3 at halftime was just absolutely abysmal.
Oh, how about the end of the game? That had to affect you.
The Salugi play, killed me. It killed me.
He actually had 3 and a hook with the Jets.
Oh, my.
3 and a hook. I mean, you were getting 3 and a hook. I went upstairs. Actually, I got a celebratory drink. I was getting 3 and a hook from my buddy there with the Jets, and I'm hoping the Dolphins win the game because I think it would have been just really a catastrophic collapse to finish 8-9 and lose at home to a Jet team that was being quarterbacked by Joe fucking Flacco. I mean, nothing against Flacco. Great that he has the ability to still be in the league, which is only eclipsed in my amazement. It's not, you know what? It's not even close to how amazing it is that Chad Checkdown Henne is still in the league. Did you see that Henne sighting with Kansas City Chiefs?
Yes, I
I'm
did.
like, who's this guy? I thought he was, I really thought it was his son. Who was
Hey,
the guy? Go ahead.
weather in Buffalo Sunday is a
Yeah.
high of 29 and not a lot of wind, maybe 8 to 10 miles an hour. So, it's not going to be one of those just rainy,
Yeah.
nasty. It's going to be
Unseasonably
cold.
warm.
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah.
Give a shot. I'm stupid.
At 30. Those guys are crazy too. Did you see the Buffalo? I know the fans were, naturally inspired by this DeMar Hamlin thing, which has been a great story. And, it's, I mean, amazing to see that this guy's actually looking like he's going to be okay and completely. And I don't know if he plays football or whatever, but I do believe that was a fluke, like one of those
I do
things
as
that
well.
the way they described it, where he just got hit in between heartbeats in this exact spot, like this guy Chris Pronger in hockey, and the guy turned out to be fine. He came back, I
Yeah.
believe, and played
Yeah.
many years after that, if I'm not mistaken. But the fans are out there literally in t-shirts, man, eating kielbasa in the parking lot like it was nothing. I mean, they just dug themselves out from 48 feet of snow that fell in a half an hour, a couple of weeks ago, and they're out there like it's a summer day, man. I mean, having been in that area and gone to school at the Q, well, you probably experienced some of this at Pittsburgh,
Some
but
of
not
it,
quite
yeah. Not as
as
bad as
frigid. Yeah.
Buffalo. Yeah.
Buffalo is a unique situation. So, but I have all the admiration in the world for their loyal fans because I guess it is important to deal with cold to have like a few hundred extra pounds on you, even if we're talking about the women. I shouldn't have said that. Sorry, John. I don't want to drag you into this stuff.
No, no. It's
All right, let's
okay.
talk about some of the other stories in the league here. But before we do, and then of course the championship game tonight, which we haven't even paid any
Right.
attention to. I don't know why. I'm tempted to take the points with TCU and just take a shot there that they can give Georgia a game. If they don't, it would be no giant surprise, but even a backdoor cover would be okay, right, with Duggan. But we'll get into that and some of the other storylines in the NFL and a little playoff synopsis here in the Pigskin Playbook. But, and the time's running short on this, Lubie. Maybe it's going to be a postseason appearance down there. It's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. But have you been down recently, John? Because it's been marvelous weather.
No, I was down about a month ago, and that was
Okay.
a great time. Went on the weekend. It was on a Saturday. It was great.
Now, did your
weather was
dad meet you down
perfect.
there?
I'm sorry?
Did your father meet you down there? Because he
No,
is the
I
Cab Calloway of the whole Congemi clan there.
he was already there, believe it or not. So he was
Oh,
already
yeah?
camped out. So I met him down there. And
Oh, cool.
yeah,
All right.
we had a great time. Just hung out outside and watched college football underneath the tiki bar. Had a couple drinks, a couple appetizers, and it was awesome. It was just a relaxing setting, and it doesn't get much better than just chilling. I mean, you just do whatever you want. You go from one area to the next, and it just keeps getting better and better at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill.
Doesn't your dad have like a signature dish that he likes? Does he order a variety of things, or has he always got a go-to thing like Lubie would with the pork nachos?
Most of the time, we don't have a choice. Whatever Dominic brings out, we're
You
going to
just set
take,
it up?
right?
Okay. Yeah.
So we're looking at a menu. He goes, "I got you guys. I got you guys."
Oh,
and then some peel and eat shrimp will come out, or we'll have some crab cakes, or something else will come out that's better than the next thing. So it's that's one of the fun things there. You have a variety of food options to choose from, and it's first class service all the way.
And these sentiments confirmed by some of the people on the Mike Mayo page on Facebook. Let's Eat South Florida, and also on Facebook where we've seen a couple of postings about Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. And you're not necessarily thinking that a coach is going to be running a place of this caliber. I guess Ditka had success with the steakhouse, and there are other coaches that have had restaurants that were very, very popular, but. Wow, this really epitomizes what Jimmy's all about, man. The freshest of seafood and the whole vibe there. Just very relaxing, and all the reasons that Jimmy Johnson wanted to relocate to the Keys. Right there in evidence there at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. All right, we'll come back with more. I'm giving Dan Campbell a couple of votes for Coach of the Year. What do you think,
You
John
should.
Congemi?
I like it.
That was great last night.
That was awesome. How about the sideline interview? Was that the greatest?
That was great, man. I love that. What confidence he had in his players, too.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, no,
Good
and the snot was coming out of his nose, and his face was all red from the cold. And you could tell that he just maybe had like, a little snack during halftime of glass And maybe even ate like a brick in front of his team to say, "Hey, let's go, man. We got this covered." That was great, man. No, he was great. But what a job, man. 8-2, finished the season and beating the Packers and having the fortitude to hang in there and play that tough against a Packer team that supposedly, some people were saying might have even had a shot to go and win it all, right? In a somewhat wide open NFC. Although Philadelphia is there, it should be respected at 14-3, not too bad, even with competing quarterbacks. All right, coming back with more with John Congemi in a moment here on a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. The Pigskin Playbook continues in a moment. Now that
the time.
I kind of like that Pigskin Playbook thing. It's stuck with me now. It's 8:28.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Eight-line Dolphins with John Congemi, and that's brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill in the Keys, and we're looking very much forward to doing some broadcasts there. I think we're going to head down there like once a month during the football season. I have to ask you this, and feel free to, not necessarily spill the beans from a personal standpoint to your good friend Dan Marino. Does he experience, or did he ever experience nightmares about handing the ball off to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar that one year when Jimmy insisted on running the ball on every play? And it was always, the announcer, I think it was Ron St. John, was a stadium announcer back then, and you could hear him say, hand off to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, gain of 1, 2nd and 9. Hand off to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, gain of 1, 3rd and 8. Did he ever talk about that?
No, he's never really talked about that, Defo. But you're right. I think they did have that on loop at whatever the stadium was called at that time.
It was 1 yard every time. And it was a generous 1 yard they were giving him statistically.
Enjoy your trip to work with lots of laughs thanks to Defo and Lubie. Now on the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. John Congemi with the Pigskin Playbook with us here on Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. Mike Lubitz, Jeff DeForest here. All right, John, let's go in this direction, if you don't mind. Bogus teams in the playoffs. That's always a discussion. And now we have expanded the postseason to include a total of 14 teams. So 14 of 32. Only 18 teams don't make the playoffs. It's like Gary Bettman took over the National Football League. Now, I've been opposed to playoff expansion throughout most of my life, and yet when they added the one extra wild card team in baseball a few years back, and I guess they've added a subsequent one to that now, I actually thought it worked real well in terms of preserving the integrity of the regular season. Because it made teams have incentive to win divisions and to play hard to the end to gain certain advantages, and I guess that would be the goal, the incentive besides the money grab of expanding the postseason. There's always a team though every year that everybody looks at and goes, "How the hell did they get into the playoffs, man? They suck." So, is there a team in that category this year? I mean, if you look at the Sunday lineup, which I have right in front of me here. Miami, I think they belong in the playoffs, although they eke their way in there. Buffalo certainly does. The New York Giants, had a real good season, nice turnaround year, 9-7-1. Minnesota actually had a great record this year, even though nobody really likes them because they have Kirk Cousins at quarterback. Baltimore, ups and downs. Cincinnati looks like they were rolling. So no bogus teams really there. Seattle, they back in, but I thought they had a remarkable year. Pete Carroll could be a candidate for Coach of the Year. The Chargers, Jacksonville, nice rebound.
playing well.
proving that Urban Meyer was an asshole. The Cowboys had a good record, although they played horribly yesterday. And the Buccaneers. Is there a bogus team being represented in the playoffs? Could it be the Buccaneers being the bogus team with Tom Brady?
I don't know. I don't know if you. I don't think that's the right word, because a lot of the teams that would maybe qualify for that, guys, have gone through a stretch where they've lost multiple games.
Yeah.
Or they've had injury at a key position. Look at Baltimore with their quarterback Jackson being out, right? They struggled to find their footing. They've won some games. They lost some games they should have won early in the season, with 14-point leads, 20-point leads, one being to the Miami Dolphins at home. The Dolphins are one of those teams. They go through stretches of 3 wins, 3 losses, 5 wins, 5 losses. They fought through injury at a key position like Baltimore did. And I think that the Jags are in that category too. They lost a bunch of games early, found their footing. Their quarterback played well. They got healthy.
Yeah.
And
they were 3-7,
gamut.
I think.
Yeah.
Earlier this year.
So it's a league of stretches. If you don't have a dominant quarterback or a dominant defense or a running game that can, withstand, some bad games where you end up eking out some wins. There's some elite teams, and then everybody else is in the playoffs that are bunched together. And that, in my opinion.
That was great too. I mean, I don't know if you've probably been in this spot sometime during your athletic career where, okay, your incentives kind of went up in smoke, as was the case with Detroit last night. And then to go into Lambeau Field where, I had a guy come up to me at the track and ask me what I thought about Green Bay having possibilities to actually get into the Super Bowl. And I thought, well, you know what? I don't know that I would totally dismiss that. And yet, I mean, this was as improbable. People just overlooked Detroit last night. But it's not easy to stay incentivized when you knew that you had lost all chance when Seattle managed to win that game in overtime. I guess that knocked them out, and win or lose. But, I mean, you really had to admire that, the way they fought tooth and nail there and ended up coming up with a dramatic victory. And Jared Goff might be the comeback player of the year this year.
Well, just look at Jared Goff and what he's done under Dan Campbell. I mean – and look at this team, the way they've played all year. I mean,
they play hard. Yeah,
nothing to play for early in the year. They were being coached as hard as possible during training camp, beginning of the season, and nothing changed as the season went on. They just started to play better. They started to get out of their own way. And Aaron Glenn on defense, the defensive coordinator, did a really good job. There was a lot of good there that has happened in terms of the way the players responded to the way they were being coached, and you could tell that they were playing for each other. That football team is truly a team. And I think Jared Goff, no one would have expected his level of play to get where it was and where you felt like what type of quarterback he was with the Rams in his first couple of seasons, in Detroit, and now where he's at now in terms of his completion percentage, the way he plays, his accuracy, his toughness, all the things that make you a really good quarterback.
It's funny because, I mean, they swamp with the Rams, an aging Matthew Stafford, who has an excellent year, his first year with the Rams, and then, essentially was a non-participant for the most part this year. And, for all we know, I mean, could be to the point where he's diminished enough to be finished with elbow problems. And Goff, who, had fallen into disfavor after, kind of lighting it up for a little while, and you thought, wow, this kid's really going to be good. When I first saw him, he was throwing grounders, like 2 hoppers to short, just on, like a pass in the flat. He would turn and the ball had bounced twice. You're like, my God, how could this guy be a pro quarterback? Then he, took the Rams, to the Super Bowl. And, and then, he loses favor with McVay, ends up on the scrap heap. They make the swamp. Goff is horrible last year with a 3-win team. And, comes back this year and it looks like he sparked his team to the point where they maybe, have a springboard for success. And I remember, it was coincidental too. I mean, they were 1-6, and I think the owner, one of the descendants of the Ford family, gave Dan Campbell a vote of confidence, which
John,
is
usually the kiss of death.
Woo, man, won't be seeing him around here no more. And sure enough, it worked. I mean, so that was a real good story this year. The other, one of the good stories in the postseason is going to be San Francisco and Mr. Irrelevant quarterbacking a team that, I mean, how distant of a thought was this? It was just like having our 8.5 over bet come down to a third string, 7th round pick quarterback behind a patchwork offensive line. That was patchwork for an offensive line that wasn't that good to begin with, man. I mean, this was some serious patchwork. And, to try and eke out a victory in the last game of the season seemed very improbable, right, when we were looking at this. But what are the odds that this Mr. Irrelevant can take San Francisco to a championship game and then maybe even a Super Bowl victory?
Well, they're playing with a lot of confidence, and they have confidence in their quarterback. And I think they're a well-coached team. They have one of the best defenses, arguably, in the National Football League. So you're thinking like, just don't screw it up if you're Purdy at quarterback. Let's just run the offense. Let's be the dealer. Kind of just take what's there. Don't force it. If we punt, we punt because we've got one of the best units on the other side of the football, and you're going to be playing at home for the majority of the playoffs. So I think that, he's not a quarterback that has to be, everybody says every quarterback manages a game. I don't care if you're the Tom Brady or you're the last guy, you're Mr. Irrelevant, like, Purdy is. But you have to be able to be smart in managing. You have to be able to know when to take your chances. You have to know when to push the envelope. You have to know when you want to prompt your offense coordinator. Hey, let's go tempo now. We got him on the run. I'm on the field. Let's go. And you share that responsibility with your team. You have the pulse of your offense. And this is a kid that has that it factor. You watched him in college. He always made good plays. He was a sound quarterback. He played on an above average team that I think he made them a little bit better. And I think he's adding to what San Francisco does. I mean, he watched Jimmy Garoppolo run this offense. He watched the way he was coached. He watched what he was asked to do. And he probably said, you know what, I could probably do that and maybe enhance it a little bit. So I think he fell into a good situation there.
Well, and that's my thing with the Niners. It's so funny because people are like, well, he's no Hurts. And I'm like, who's Hurts? Like Jalen Hurts. And he turned out to be better than I thought he would be. He's not Rodgers or like Jalen Hurts has had a phenomenal year. He has. Because of the same thing Purdy's doing. They've surrounded him with a great offensive line, a great defensive line, a really good running game. They've given him a lot of talent. So he doesn't have to do much, and he can run. Okay. Like, that's the thing. Like, for the thing with Purdy, well, it's just a regular season. They didn't look like this with Jimmy G. They were winning, but not like this. They demolished teams. And it's not like they're doing the Skylar Thompson. Like, they're giving him everything. Actually, they're giving him more. They were giving a Super Bowl runner-up quarterback in Jimmy G. Like, what they're doing with that offense, they were not doing with Jimmy G. Like, that's the thing to me where I'm just scared of the Niners, because it's like, he actually is playing better than Jimmy G. They're playing better than when they had Jimmy G, and they're not holding the offense back. They've given him full throttle, and he's ran with it. To me, there's no one in the league playing like the Niners. I mean, they've won 10 in a row, and it's not like they're just getting by. Like, they're dominating teams.
Yeah, the only game really that he was on a governor was the Dolphin game, because he really didn't have a chance to prepare. Jimmy G gets hurt early. Okay, so Shanahan now is like, okay, what do we do well with Purdy? How can we manage the game until he gets a little bit of confidence, a little bit semblance that, hey, I'm in this game, I'm playing quarterback, it's my job now. And they've expanded that each week, and I think the team has grown. And when you have those playmakers around you like San Francisco does, it really is. It truly is. Let me just do what I do, and even if I make a couple of mistakes, I know the other side of the ball's got my back. And they're rolling right now on offense. They're running the football. They're throwing it. The offensive line's playing well, and the defense is getting after the quarterback on the opposing team. So that's the way you want to go into the playoffs. You're going in with momentum. You're going in with confidence, and you feel like you're the team to beat. You're every week you feel like we're the favorite. We should win this game, and that's a good feeling to have.
I'm going cliche with you on this one, John Congemi. Women weaken legs. Defense wins championships. If that's the case, that cliche holds up, then San Francisco is in decent shape, because offensively, as Lubie said, I mean, not only are they not compromised from Garoppolo's loss, but they seem to actually be a little bit better, which is really hard to fathom. All right, a lot of interesting stuff there. We want to get into the college game, though, too, with John Congemi. I thought it was as entertaining as anything I've seen. And we've talked about this on the show, but I mean, those were fantastic. Well, I guess we didn't have you last week. We didn't get a chance to really discuss this. Fantastic games. I mean, leading up to this, you couldn't have asked for much more in terms of entertainment. TCU and Michigan, a wild shootout, and then Ohio State, having what looked like an insurmountable lead, and they end up spitting a bit there, and they see Georgia come back on them when it looked like Georgia, I think, has shown vulnerability all year. That's why I'd be tempted to take the 13 with TCU tonight. Just thinking Cinderella story. All right, it could be stopped. That's entirely possible. Maybe Georgia's just so much tougher than these guys. They beat the snot out of them. But we've seen Georgia in some very tight, games towards the end of the season against lesser opponents than TCU. So, what do you think, John Congemi, about the way they got here, and then what will happen tonight?
Well, Georgia seemed to survive Ohio State, where Ohio State had equally as good an offense and offensive weapons as Georgia had on defense.
Yeah.
And they had the upper hand, and it seemed like it was going to be that type of game. But, Georgia's had a bullseye on their back for 2 years now. They're the championship team. They're the team that everybody's going to play their best for. And when you have a couple of weeks to prepare for a team like that, and you have a really good unit at quarterback, wide receiver, offensive line, I think that was probably the key. Ohio State's offense and defensive line could neutralize Georgia's offense and defensive line. That allowed their playmakers to have more space and more time in the passing game, and it allowed receivers like Harrison to find creases and crack Georgia defense, and that's why they got out to a fast start. But I think Georgia as a team has that championship pedigree, and they know how to win games if they're close enough, and come back when they haven't trailed a whole lot, but when they have, they've found ways to win those games. And just like on the other side, TCU needed to get out of the gate fast. They needed to get a defensive score. Well, they got two, and they had that separation against a team against Michigan that likes to play with a 10-point lead. They don't like to be 14 points down. They're not built for that, right? They're built for getting a lead, keeping the lead, and extending it by a field goal or a touchdown, and being comfortable now rope-a-doping you into submission and getting to the fourth quarter knowing that they could run the football and they're going to be able to, play action third down, get a quarterback run to extend the chains, move a first down, and now you don't get the ball back. That's the way they like to win. Well, it wasn't that way, and they almost came back. They had a couple of good runs at closing the gap, but TCU had enough in the tank and made enough plays to keep that separation and win that game. So they won it on explosive plays and defensive turnovers.
Kind of easy to root for. I think both of the quarterbacks in this game are older than you, John Congemi.
I think so, too.
Certainly close to Lubie's age. I mean, what is this, Plutarski? They both have like 7 years in college? What's the deal on that? I mean, that should, bode well for them. It's funny, too, to see some of the conversation about reading a couple of articles about name, image, and likeness and how, and the transfer portal. And it's, funny to see how much money is being thrown around.
Somebody explain this one to me. How can you pay college athletes millions of dollars and Jim Harbaugh get in trouble for buying guys cheeseburgers out of the recruiting
I thought that was fun.
window?
They're still trying to do recruiting penalties, but you can
it
offer
doesn't
guys
make any sense.
I don't know how did that work.
I mean, this Hartman guy, how much money is Notre Dame paying his kid? I mean, he had WF etched on his heart, this kid, Hartman. He had been there for like 100 years also, and had a brilliant season. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's like, you know what? I think I want to play for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, obviously, the incentives there are enormous. And, and on top of that, they're paying a coach. I like the way Harbaugh crumbled, though, after the loss, because he immediately had to have somebody plant a rumor that he was going to take a pro job, so that they would, get back to loving him again as the Michigan coach. But
I think he is going to go to the pros this year.
You do, yeah?
I really do.
There'll be a bunch of jobs, right? I mean, already you're thinking Houston already fired Lovie Smith. You have, Saturday there, probably likely to go.
Denver's gonna do him. Supposedly Denver's next in the Harbaugh sweepstakes.
Oh, Harbaugh with Denver, yeah, and Sean Payton is now the Bill Cowher of ex NFL coaches because his name is linked to every job.
He might
I don't know if that's going to last forever, but yeah,
New Orleans, yeah,
right, every job. All right, so what do you think then? I mean, I like I said, I would take a shot with TCU. I wish I'd taken a shot with them at 20-1. I'd be in a perfect position to hedge this game off. Georgia, I mean, they nearly dropped a couple of games. Are they better, Georgia, this year than last year when they seem to be a dominating champion?
No, I think they were better last year, and that's what gives TCU a chance.
Okay.
If I'm wagering it in the game, I might take a look at TCU, but I think Georgia's going to win the game. I think this is going to be one of those games where it's going to be closer than expected in the first quarter. Because TCU is going to be playing with a lot of emotion. I just think that Georgia in the trenches are going to be that much better than TCU. I don't know if they're going to be able to handle the front seven of Georgia's defense. And I think that's going to probably turn the game. You're going to get a defensive turnover, a strip sack, a fumble that's going to turn the game, and Georgia's going to then roll as the game moves on. I think TCU is a really good team. It's been a great story. It's been fun to watch. They've won a lot of close games. They may eke into the second half still close, but I do think Georgia at some point in this game is going to turn it on, and when they do, you're going to see the separation between these teams.
After losing that Dolphin game with the Jets plus 3.5 to a Salugi play, I'm hoping maybe the gods of gambling will smile on me and I can at least get a backdoor cover. Maybe they're down, 21 and they somehow slip in there, get 8 points and at least get me a push for my faith in TCU. Because, I just, I don't know that, Georgia won't dominate them, but at the same time, this team has been in every game. So, and every game they've been overlooked completely. So maybe that's one of those things that, the bulletin board material actually works out. And I like their coach, too. He seems like a real loose guy. So, there's reason to root for them. And repeat champion. What's that?
I think Georgia wins big. Like that. Like I really think in the end, like Georgia's had the Missouri close call, the Arkansas close call. Ohio State should have won that game, and they got a new life. That's why, like, I would bet on TCU because they've been game. I just feel like this is the game that Georgia puts it all together and just fucking explodes.
Well, like, and you know what? Kirby Smart's been in this spotlight and in this situation so long, and their coaching staff. This team knows how to handle the bright lights, and I think TCU's getting there. I think TCU is there, but it's something about Georgia. Having the foresight to call that timeout against Ohio State in the special teams when they were going to fake it. I mean, that does. Other coaching staffs and other people might have glossed right by them that particular play, but these guys have been in the every week they're the team to beat. Every week they have to be on, and they're going to continue, I think, to be on tonight.
Wow, only Mark Richt couldn't do it when he was there all of those years. Had all these great teams, and this guy Kirby Smart comes in, might go back to back, and most people are anticipating that's going to be the case. All right, we'll come back with more with John Congemi, brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. A couple of parting shots here with John on the Pigskin Playbook coming up in just a moment. Now that.
The time.
8:51. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, highly apart.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Jimmy Johnson joins us here on the program, along with John Congemi, and it's Dateline Dolphins, of course. Leslie Visser, the lovely and talented one.
It was always different. You had to know if it was Emmitt Smith, if you screamed at him, he was going to go into a shell. I wasn't going to get anything out of him for the rest of the day. If it's Charles Haley, he was going to get upset at me and maybe threaten me on my life. And
I mean it.
Yeah, but I mean it. And he could have done it too, I promise. But when he went into my office, he said, Coach, just get on to me one-on-one. Don't do it in front of the other players. Now, Michael Irvin, I could cuss him like a sailor. And the more I cussed him, the harder he worked.
From South Florida to the entire world, thank you to the iHeartRadio app. Here is Defo joined by Lubie on The Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Peeling yourself off to Mad Monday. A lot of fun today. Another hour of the Pigskin Playbook just flying by here with John Congemi. A couple of things that we want to get to before we make our exit here on the program this morning. I would assume that there's a huge brotherhood of Pittsburgh Panther football players. All right. It seems that way. The city seems to be kind of the frame of mind that they're going to honor Steelers forever. I do remember, and I've mentioned this a few times, being in Pittsburgh one time doing some work with the NFL alumni. We were going to a baseball game at Three Rivers, and we were at some bar, a local watering hole, and, some obscure Steeler walked in, John. I had no idea who he was. I mean, it wasn't Frenchie Fuqua, right? And you would have thought, wow, I mean, this guy never was going to be able to buy a drink. I mean, they were so into it, hey, another round for everybody, because they love their players there. And I would imagine, some of that, is involved with the university, with Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh. But we talked to Charlie Partridge about DeMar Hamlin. It's a great story now because the guy's going to be okay. But did you feel some impact in that being part of the brethren of Pittsburgh players?
Yeah, absolutely. You felt, you knew right away who it was, and you go back and you start, calling people that and texting people that and reaching out that way. And, other people, are blowing up my phone. Hey, do you know how to get a hold of the family? Do you know how to do this? And it is that tight knit city and that tight knit group when you either play for a college team or a pro team in that city. You're a lifer, whether you like it or not, and they accept you and they put your arms around you. And you felt it. And you could see a lot of former Pitt players that are in the National Football League now wearing a Panthers jersey to their game. It wasn't a Buffalo Bill game. It was a Pittsburgh reference. Yeah. So, you felt it for sure. Absolutely, Defo. You're right on that one.
Mike Tomlin, too, another non-losing season, man. He's right up there with Shula in, this kind of a streak. I believe Belichick is either tied with or one behind Shula for most playoff appearances. So he was denied either eclipsing or tying the great Don Shula, which that he is obsessed with. So that had to be particularly upsetting.
What is this,
for
the
him.
third or fourth year they've missed the playoffs? Since
Yeah,
Brady
I
left,
would imagine.
right?
Yeah, since
So,
that's been it, right? They won the Super Bowl, and then that's it. And Brady, of course, is going to be in the playoffs and probably be badly overbet. You know what's funny? Statistically, he had like a monster year, Brady,
he
this
did.
year. I mean, and yet every time I watched him, he looked like garbage.
Yeah.
With rare exception, and toward the end of a couple of games, there were those 3 comeback games that he had. But but he only was good at the end of the ball game there when they were allowing him to dink and dunk his way down the field. Yet, I mean, if you looked at him statistically, you would say, "Wow, this guy's got more shelf life." Does Brady and Sean Payton end up as a tag team somewhere next year, either with the Saints or any one of these other jobs that might pop open?
I mean, some would say that was the plan down here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It sounds like that could happen. The destination yet to be determined. There's probably a few landing spots that could happen. But I would think that Brady's looking for a change. I would think that Brady's looking for somewhere else to finish up, maybe 2 more seasons, 3 more years. Who knows? I mean, I didn't think he would last this long, right?
Oh, me either, man. He'll be 46 years old, this guy. I mean, Gump Worsley wasn't that old when he retired from the Rangers, I don't think. And he had been
George
around
Blanda.
since the 20s.
What was George Blanda?
It's like 50.
Yeah, he made it into his 40s, but he was playing primarily as a kicker then, was not, a mainstay as the starting quarterback. That'll be, I mean, did they go as a tag team? Is it like the Fabulous Kangaroos or Skull Murphy, Brute Bernard? I mean, if you get Brady, you get Sean Payton and vice versa.
I don't know. The team that's doing it this time, you don't want to get caught, with your hand in the cookie jar. So I don't know. I don't think there's a chance that happens, but depending on where Sean Payton lands, you have to look at the dynamic of who you're throwing to as a quarterback, what the offense looks like. The Dolphin situation, when you bring in Tyreek Hill to add to Jalen Waddle and have such a dynamic duo here, that's still kind of surprises me that didn't get done in a fashion last offseason or 2 off seasons ago. But you have to look for a situation like that. Does Denver excite you with the people that they have? But you just signed Russell Wilson for however many years. So you're looking around the league. Where else do you land as a coach quarterback combination that would entice you to go where you're, to leave somewhere else that's better than where you're at right now?
George Payton, man. I don't even know how he's still in the country, the GM there at Denver, much less has a job. I mean, picks the worst coach, this side of Urban Meyer with this Hackett guy, and signs Russell Wilson long term, and it looks like he's a shot fighter. I mean, and trades the entire. I mean, wow. I mean, Seattle. We were saying this last week, John, on the show. That I don't know that there's been a more lopsided deal, in sports history, aside from maybe the Babe for cash. Going to the Yankees from the Red Sox for this guy to have a chance to finance a failed Broadway show. All right, one last thing, John, and always a pleasure, my friend. Going to be a huge weekend. Begins on Saturday. You have 2 games on tap: Seattle and San Francisco, Chargers and Jacksonville. Both kind of interesting and with a lot of different possibilities. What officiating atrocity will this year's postseason be remembered for? What kind of bad call are we going to see that everybody is going to be up in arms about and say, oh, I can't believe this? I mean, how did that go? I mean, I guess it was the Rams and the Saints, several years ago with just a blatant whiff on a call.
Right.
There seems to be pass interference both ways on almost every pass attempt. Would you agree?
Yes.
Somebody's holding or somebody's pushing, I mean, and some of the calls that aren't made are more outrageous than the ones that are. What do you think? Is there going to be an officiating atrocity that pops up in this year's postseason?
I would think it would be a call or no call on a roughing the passer that extends a drive that leads to, a score. Yeah. You're always going to get the pass interference ones where they either don't call it or call it. But I think it's going to be, a hand to the face mask or a hand to the helmet that's kind of really a nothing call that's going to get called, depending if it's Brady or if it's a guy that's lesser known that doesn't get the call. And those things tend to lead to extending drives and points.
Imagine it. I mean, Brady gets, by Dallas and extended into the next round of the playoffs after, and it couldn't happen to a better team than the Dallas Cowboys to be victimized by an atrocious, outrageous,
the Washington game yesterday. Wow.
Biased game. Yeah. I mean, that was horrible. I mean, and Washington was playing some schmank at quarterback that they just wanted to get a look at, who actually could throw the ball a little bit.
Yeah.
This kid. I don't know that he had a great game all the way around, but wasn't bad. And I'm with Lubie. I thought Jalen Hurts would never make it as a pro. When he got drafted, I thought that's a wasted pick, right? Because we thought Tua was vastly superior, and wow, he had a big year this year. Wildly entertaining NFL season, John Congemi, I would have to say.
It was.
And looking forward to the playoffs, and of course the college game tonight. Good luck with all of your wagering activity there. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much for being with us on the show today.
Appreciate it, guys. Look forward to it.
All right, very good.